Hello children, welcome to Social Studies digital class. How are you all? Hope you are doing well. Children, today we are going to discuss a very important topic. Do you know what is that? Yes, it is about water. We need water for our survival and you all must be knowing the importance of water. Children, from where do we get the water in our homes? Yes, obviously we get it from the taps as well as from the bore wells. So, children, have you ever thought that from where does the water comes into the taps as well as from the bore wells? Yes, we get it from the rivers, rains as well as from the underground. So, today we are going to discuss about the 5th lesson in your textbook, Indian Rivers and Water Resources. So, let us begin the lesson, children. Indian Rivers and Water Resources. The learning outcomes of this lesson. In this class, you will learn about the Himalayan rivers, the peninsular rivers, the water use, the inflows and the outflows of water. The drainage system in India has evolved and adjusted itself into 3 physiographic units. So, let us know what are those. The Himalayas, the Peninsular Plateau and the Indo-Gangetic Plain. On the basis of its origin, the drainage system is broadly classified into 2 categories. They are the Himalayan rivers and the peninsular rivers. So, children, let us see how the Himalayan river system is divided into. The Himalayan rivers belong to 3 principal river systems. So, what are they? They are the Indus river system, the Ganga river system and the Brahmaputra river system. And these rivers originate from almost the same regions within few kilometers of each other, and they are separated by water divides such as the mountain ranges. They first flow parallel to the main axis of the mountains. Then they take the sudden bend towards the south, cutting through the massive mountain chain to reach the North Indian plains. In this process, they have carved out deep V-shaped valleys. This is well exhibited by River Indus and River Brahmaputra. Now, let us study the flow of the River Indus and also its tributaries. So, shall we begin? Yes. Look at the map of India. This is the northmost part of our country, India. So, River Indus originates at Manasarovar and it enters into India in Jammu Kashmir and it moves towards northwest direction, further ascends and then it takes the southward bend and it finally moves southward side and finally drains into Arabian Sea after it gets into Pakistan. See the flow of River Indus, children. Yes. Now let us study the tributaries of River Indus. So what are the tributaries? River Jhelum and River Chenab, River Ravi, River Beas and River Satluj. Children, these are all the tributaries. River Jhelum, River Chenab, River Ravi, River Beas and River Satluj are the tributaries of Indus river system. Here you can see Bhakra Nangal. This is a dam that is located on River Satluj. Children, now let us go for the next river, which is the Ganga river system. So let us see how does the Ganga flows and how the origin of the river Ganga has took place. The Ganga River. The Ganga River has twin sources, means two sources. The main source is Gangotri Glacier. Glacier is huge mass of ice which moves very slowly and generally located in the cold zones, which is located where it is called as Bhagirathi. The other is the main source is the Gangotri Glacier, where it is called as Bhagirathi. The other is the 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Glacier towards northwest of Badrinath. The other is the 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Glacier towards northwest of Badrinath, where it is called as Alaknanda. So, you must have understood that Ganga originates from two sources, that is Gangotri Glacier, where it is called as Bhagirathi, and the 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 Glacier, which is called as Alaknanda. So, they join at 𝗹𝗶 to form the Ganga river that emerges from the hills of Haridwar. So, the Bhagirathi and Alaknanda, they both join at 𝗹𝗶 and they become the river Ganga, and they emerge from the hills of Haridwar as Ganga river. The Ganga is joined by large number of tributaries. What are tributaries? The smaller rivers which join the large river. So, those small rivers are called as tributaries. A majority of them originate in the Himalayan ranges, but some of them also have their sources in the peninsular plateau. Children, now let us locate river Ganga as well as its tributaries on the map of India. Shall we? Yes. So, here you can see the flow of river Ganga. This is river Ganga. It starts from Uttarakhand in 𝗧𝗏𝗃 district and moves towards the south side, and then it moves towards the eastwards, and finally it reaches to Bay of Bengal. It drains in Bay of Bengal. Let us study the tributaries of river Ganga. The river Ganga has the right bank tributaries and the left bank tributaries. The right bank tributaries, the left bank tributaries we shall learn first. So, the left bank tributaries are river Ghagra, river Gandak and river Gomti. This is river Gomti, river Gandak and river Kosi. These are the four tributaries at the left bank of river Ganga. And let us study the right bank tributaries of river Ganga. Yamuna is the most important, largest tributary of river Ganga. And the other tributaries are river Tamsa, river Sun and river Damodar. So, children, you must have understood the river Ganga and its tributaries. Now, let us proceed towards the river Brahmaputra. So, river Brahmaputra is also one of the important rivers of the Himalayan river systems. So, it originates at 𝗬𝗏𝗃 Glacier in Kailas Hills near Manasarovar. Here is Manasarovar, and it takes the eastward direction, and it is called as Sangpo river in Tibet. And at 𝗏𝗏𝗃 it opens into wide navigable channel of 640 kilometers. It enters into Arunachal Pradesh here, takes the bend and enters into India, first as Siang and then as Dihang. And then in Assam Valley, it is joined by river Lohit and river Dibang. And slowly it enters into the other places, and finally it enters into, from here it is known as river Ganga, and it slowly enters into Bangladesh and finally joins the Bay of Bengal. So, this is about river Brahmaputra. Children, now let us move towards the another concept of the lesson. that is the peninsular rivers. What are the peninsular rivers? The peninsular rivers are those rivers which are located in the south side of India, the southern India. So let us see what are the peninsular rivers. The Western Ghats are the water divide between major peninsular rivers discharging their water in Bay of Bengal and as small rivulets joining the Arabian Sea. Most of the peninsular rivers except Narmada and Tapati flow from west to east. Means all the rivers except Narmada and Tapati drains into Bay of Bengal, that is in the east side. Whereas the river Narmada and river Tapati, they drains into Arabian Sea. And what is the reason for it? That is the Western Ghats, they become the water divide and they have divided the division, the movement or the flow of the waters into different directions. The Chambal, the Sindh, the Betwa, Ken and Son. These are the rivers that originate in the north part of Peninsular Plateau. They belong to Ganga river system. The other major river systems of the peninsular drainage are Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna and Kaveri. The peninsular rivers are characterized by fixed course. That is, they flow in the same direction. They won't change their direction. And absence of meanders. There will not be any meanders for the peninsular rivers. And they are also largely non-perennial flow of water. There is largely non-perennial flow of water in the sense these rivers get dried up during summer season. Again they get filled up with water during the rainy season. Whereas the Himalayan rivers, they are all perennial rivers. What are perennial rivers? These rivers, the perennial rivers will be flowing throughout the year. Means water will be there in the perennial rivers throughout the year. They will not get dried up in any season. Such rivers are called as perennial rivers. And non-perennial rivers, they get dried up during the summer season. Again they get filled up during the rainy season. So here perennial, non-perennial rivers, the peninsular rivers are all the non-perennial rivers. Now children, let us locate the peninsular rivers on the map of India. This is the southern part of India. So let us locate the different rivers that drain in our country. Children, one of the most important river is river Krishna. This is the flow of river Krishna and you can see the flow of river Tungabhadra. This is river Tungabhadra and the river Penna. This is river Godavari. This is also one of the most important rivers. And this is the river Narmada. See children, all these rivers are flowing towards the Bay of Bengal, towards the east. Whereas Narmada, the flow is towards the west direction. It drains into Arabian Sea. And the next one, it is river Tapati. You can see the flow towards the west direction. Is it not children? Yes. And then you can also see river Mahanadi. It is located in Orissa. And then here it is river Kaveri. This is river Kaveri. So I hope you have understood the important rivers about the important rivers of South India, that is the peninsular rivers. Children, here is an activity for you. Are you ready for the activity? Yes. So mark the following rivers on the outline map of India. Mark the flow of the following rivers: river Ganga, river Indus, river Brahmaputra, river Krishna, river Tungabhadra and river Godavari. Take an outline map of India children and mark all these. These are very important for your knowledge. Children, now let us go for the next concept, that is about the water use. How we are using the existing water. What is the inflow, how much water we are receiving and how we are utilizing that water. These all things we will learn in this particular topic. Water use. water is a source that becomes available to us as annual flow. That is, we try to estimate how much we would be able to use it during the year. Outflows and inflows can be estimated at different levels for small watershed or for the entire river basin. Children, you must have heard the word budget. What is budget? That is the estimation of incomes and the expenditure. What comes, the money that comes into our home or in our pocket, and what we are spending that money. That is budget. Estimation of all that is called as budget. Whereas there is also another term which is called as water budget. Let us see what is that. Water budget is the estimation of inflows and outflows of water in a region for a period of time. It could be applied to a small region or a large region such as village or district. So, water budget is the total amount of the inflows into the village or any region and the total amount of the outflows. The estimation of that can be called as water budget. So, let us go to the further next topic. What is watershed? Watershed is the drainage basin in any area of land where precipitation collects and drains off into a common outlet such as river, bay or any other body of water. It is in a particular area or a drainage basin, the amount of water that is getting collected through precipitation, that is through the rainfall, snow, fog, okay, and it all gets accumulated or collected at one water body. It can be river or it can be a bay. So that is called as watershed. I hope you have understood watershed, children. Yes. So now let us see what are inflows. Inflow of water means how much water we are getting in an area in a particular period of time, say 1 year. Inflow is equal to precipitation, that is rainfall, fog, hail, all this comes under the precipitation, plus surface flow and groundwater flow. This all together is called as inflow. Now let us see the precipitation here. Precipitation includes the rain, snow, dew, hail, etc. To estimate the precipitation of an area, we should take an average of precipitation over many years. Since precipitation varies from year to year, you should not take only precipitation related to 1 year. You should take it average period of time, that may be about 10 years or 5 years. You should calculate by taking the average amount of precipitation received in a year. You should not take only related to 1 or 2 years. So in this way you have to calculate the precipitation. See here, children, the water droplets that are falling on the ground. This is precipitation in the form of rainfall. Children, now you see here, this is another form of precipitation. Yes, it is in the form of snow. See, there are no raindrops that are falling onto the ground, but there is all the snowfall. The snow are the droplets of small pieces of ice that falls from the sky onto the ground. This is another form of precipitation, that is snowfall. Now let us see what is the surface water. Surface water includes the rivers, streams, canals and other flows on the surface of the soil. So here you can see in this video the small streams that are moving on the surface of the soil. Is it not? So this can be taken as a stream, and even there can be during heavy rainfall, there can be huge canals that will be flowing onto the surface of the soil. So that all can be called as the surface water. Let us see what is groundwater. Groundwater is the water that lie deep inside the soil. See here in the borewell, we draw out the water from the borewell, is it not? Yes. So this is the groundwater that we draw out, and also this is traditional form of the well. So from this also the groundwater can be drawn out. Children, now let us study about the outflows. What are outflows, or how we spend, or how the water goes out in this topic. The outflows are through the evapotranspiration, and also water flowing out via surface flows and groundwater, water for agriculture, water used for domestic purpose and for animals, water for industrial use. So these all things makes the water utilization. Water is used, and let us study each one in detail. Children, you must be aware of the word evaporation. What happens in the evaporation? The groundwater, because of the heat, it converts itself into the vapor and moves above the ground. So this is called as evaporation. This generally take place on the water bodies. Is it not? The water getting converted into the vapor and moving up into the sky, it is called as evaporation. Now, the water not just gets evaporated from the water bodies, but also it takes place, that is evaporation takes place on the plants, animals and human beings also. So, when evaporation takes place on the living things, it is called as transpiration. Did you understand this, children? Yes. So, the total amount of water added to the atmosphere from both evaporation and transpiration, it is called as evapotranspiration. Now, water flowing out via surface flows such as streams and groundwater. So, during monsoons, this surface flow would increase substantially. In other seasons, it will be less. Whereas, during monsoons, because of the rainfall, the surface flow would be more. A portion of rainfall percolates into the soil and travels to the underground strata and recharges the aquifers. What are aquifers, children? It is underground water layer bearing permeable rocks, rock fractures and so on. So, here it is the water in aquifers has been stored from thousands of years also. Now, let us study about the water use for agriculture. We also use water for agriculture, is it not? For ploughing and for paddy and wheat, we need a lot of water. So, let us study how water is utilized and how it is also getting wasted in the agriculture. Water reaches the root zone of crops either through rainfall or the process of irrigation. If there is excess water, such as floods, the soil is unable to percolate below, it would damage the roots. And during the drought-like situation, there isn't enough moisture in the root zone and the crop wither. So, excess water is also not good for the crops, and even less water also spoils the crop. So, now let us study about the water use for the domestic purposes. What is it? It is utilized for the animals as well as for the domestic purpose. Water is used for drinking, cooking, washing, cleaning and for the animals. So, these are all the vital things without what the human survival or any other living organisms cannot survive. So, they are the most important uses of the water. Children, water is also used for the industrial purpose. So, water is required for manufacturing process, that is for washing, for production processes. Water is the most important, whereas this demand often competes with domestic and agriculture uses. So, water is at most important for the domestic use and it is also important for the agriculture use. At the same time, this demand of manufacturing process competes, like it stands in competition for the domestic uses as well as the agriculture use. So, which is most important, the domestic or the manufacturing? So, that kind of situation, the people would be before the utilization of water. Now let us study what is stock of water. So what is available to a region or a village does not depend upon the inflows and outflows, but also on what is already available as stock of water. Did you understand this, children? So let us go for the example here. Here is a water tank. Is it not? Can you see the water tank, children? Yes. So this is the inlet pipe. Inlet is the water that goes into the tank, and this is measurable, means liters by minutes, whereas here it is the outlet pipe. So how much of the water that goes out is also measurable, that is liters by minutes. So what is stock of water now? The amount of water that is existing in the tank at a particular period of time, say at 8:30 a.m. That is called as water tank. It is called as water. It is called as stock of water. Did you understand the stock of water, children? Yes. Okay. Now, most of the villages in India draw water from wells as well as from the tube wells. But, and also they depend upon the groundwater storage for agriculture purpose, for domestic use purpose. Generally people depend upon the borewell or the groundwater. So now the question is that we are facing today, that is the depletion of the groundwater source. That is the groundwater is coming down, that is the water is getting utilized. The aquifer water is also getting utilized by the people, which makes the groundwater still very lesser. And people have become so greedy nowadays that they are thinking about themselves, but they are not thinking about the future generation. If we consume the water which is available to us right now through the rains, rivers and all, the surface flows, apart from that, if we utilize the water which is lying deep inside the ground and even in the aquifers, then what about the future generation? So this is the most important point to be thought about, and we should always try to use less water of the aquifers. So what is the solution to this? So the solution is the annual flows and stocks that recharge wells and tube wells is the water that is available to us. So this water, annual flows through the rains and rivers, it is already available, the inflows, whereas the stocks of recharge wells, the stock of water available in the recharge well and tube wells, it is already available, and that should be our range of utilization of water. We should not use more than that. We should keep our needs in this range. We should not dig the water from deep aquifers where the water has been collected over thousands of years. This should be done only in the extreme drought situations and replenished in good rainfall years. So when you can use the water that lies in the aquifers, that is when the situation is of drought, when there is very scarce water available for daily uses. So at that time you can use the water that is available in the aquifers. And again during good rainfall years, it should be brought back, replenished in the sense brought back. So the aquifers should be filled with the water. This is the only solution that human beings can preserve water for the future generation. They can use the water for themselves, at the same time they can preserve the water for the future generations also. I hope you have understood this concept in a good way, children. Yes. So now we have come to the end of the session. It's the time for evaluation. So answer the following questions. Read the textbook carefully and try to discuss the questions with your friends and answer the questions. The first one is, on the basis of origin, the drainage system of India is broadly classified into how many categories and what are they? The second question is, what are the major peninsular rivers in our country? The third question, what is water budget? The fourth one is, what is evapotranspiration? Children, I hope you have understood the lesson. So, we will meet in the next part of the lesson. For better understanding of the concepts, solve the worksheets. Please visit the official site of SCERT for the worksheet. Until then, meet you in the next session, children.